First Corinthians 10, verses 3 through 5. It reads on this wise. For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God, mighty through our divinity, mighty through our recognition that we are God Almighty, that we are gods and goddesses, but mighty through that perception, through that conception of ourselves, to the pulling down of strongholds, those things that are within ourselves that would mitigate against what I just said, a perception of ourselves as divine, pulling down those strongholds, casting down imaginations. Okay, so imaging ourselves, the image that we hold of ourselves, any image of ourself that is not divine must be cast down, must be cast down. And every high thing that exalted itself against the knowledge that we are God, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of that perception of ourselves, of Christ as the high being, the divine
Can
being.
I make a correction on that? That's not First Corinthians. That's Second Corinthians.
That is Second Corinthians.
Second Corinthians.
All right, all right. I'll make that correction. Thank you. Second
Hold on.
Corinthians 10, Todah, 3 through 5. Second Corinthians 10, 3 through 5. For though we walk after the flesh, we're found, family, in this physical body. But this physical body is just a vehicle for this experience that we volunteered for. This is the equipment that came with emanation into the physical realms. We do not war after the flesh, for the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through the realization that we are gods in a human body in the flesh, to the pulling down of strongholds, casting down imaginations, and every high thing that exalteth itself against the knowledge that we are God, that we are divine, we are God Almighty, we are infinite divinity, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ. So we want to look, family, first, and we're going to continue our discussion as we began it yesterday and then the day before. I seek laying the foundation relative to the formula to weaken and at the same time energize. We'll bring that and juxtapose it with this scripture. We want to weaken the imagination or the image, family, or the thought or the conception that we are human. And we want to energize the conception, the imagination, the image that we are divine. Are you all with me?
That's crystal clear.
A formula to weaken at the same time energize. We must deal with this aspect of duality. Nasik is not going anywhere while we are down
No.
here. So today we want to focus in on that and look at how our ancestors imaged this and how they approached it and the wisdom that they laid down relative to this dualistic aspect of our nature. The human aspect, Jesus, and the divine aspect, which is the Christ. All right? And they did this, family, by means of what uh, Graham Hancock referred to as the God self icon. It was a representation of duality, and we'll go into this. And if you see, starting at the left, where it says Giroff here, the various representations of a central figure holding two animals, all right?
Mm-hmm.
A central figure holding two animals. The central figure is the hero, all right? And we see the one in the top left holding two scorpions, and the one next to it holding two serpents. And then there are two lions there as well. You look very closely under the serpents. The other figure to the bottom left, again holding the two serpents, and then the figure next to him holding two leopards by the tail. Now, you'll notice, Nasi, that these two animals, they're always symmetrical, always even. Not a big serpent and a little serpent, but they're identically symmetrical. Not a serpent and a lamb,
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
not a lion and a dove, but the same two aspects, symmetrical.
Right.
Switching to the other
Balance.
figure, switching to the other figure on the right, and it reads Andean sensibility. These are the Andes. These are the representation in the West, in the Americas. Andean sensibility stresses, listen, the synthetic joining or fusion of complementary or opposing entities. Now, see, not eliminating duality, but fusing it, joining it together. Now, remember, this is all mental now. It's all mental. Stressing the synthetic joining or fusion, bringing it back together, of complementary or opposing entities, large, small, male, female, insider, outsider, human, divinity, Hanan meaning high, Hurin meaning low, sometimes around a central point or entity. Around a central point or entity. We are always the central point. And you see the representation of the Peruvian figure with two serpents in each hand. And then the one below it, one serpent in each hand. In Egypt, listen very carefully, the phenomena of duality pervades Egyptian culture and is at the heart of the Egyptian concept of the universe itself. We've been teaching this. But rather than focusing on the essential differences between the two parts of a given pair, Egyptian thought may stress their complementary nature as a way of expressing the essential unity of existence through the alignment and harmonization of opposites. So this is going to be the skill. This is going to be the art of divinity. Write those two things down. divine skill, and divine art. Making the two things one. Are we good?
We
Okay.
good.
By extending both arms and hands outward from the body, by extending both arms and hands outward from the body, outward from the source. Remember, when we emanated in, the action of the initial impact, family, caused everything to shoot outward from the force. From the
Right.
source, from the initial aspect, from the Big Bang.
Right.
So, devolution, the fall, went outward from the source. Are you all with me?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, our forefathers, our ancient ancestors, represented a figure holding his hands and arms outward from the body, which is the source. Your body is the temple of the living God, right? The kingdom of heaven is what? Within.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The God self icon conveys the concept of duality, an idea expressed by the twin objects depicted symmetrically in each hand, twin serpents, twin staffs, twin animals, etc., standing between the representations of duality. Listen, standing between the representations of duality, the hero figure marks the center or balance point, thus giving us the central message of the God self icon to find the center between the opposites, not necessarily to make the two opposites one thing physically, but to find the center, the balance point,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
the union
Mm-hmm. Yep.
between the two. We're going to find out that you can never join two things together from the standpoint of electricity, from the standpoint of a vortex. All right. So all of this has to be done mentally. We have to, the art, the skill, Amaria said it the other day, is to learn how to exist in the world, but not be of the world.
Mm-hmm.
To learn
Okay.
how to exist within duality, but not be dualistic yourself. To be
Yes.
the center point.
I think that's what we're doing right now.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
This
Mm-hmm.
is the divine art.
Right.
This is the divine skill. The God self icon, which is a representative of you, you as a God, as the hero, as the center point of all things. We have not, we find it hard to, because we've made God something outside of ourselves, the center point.
Right.
And we talk
Right.
about God, family, and then, then something else. But you are the center point because you are
Right.
God. Get selfish.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm not talking about little self. I'm talking about big self. Become God center. Become the center yourself. That's what I'm saying. Be selfish. That's what I mean by that. We'll expand on that. We're going to continue to expand on this. The God self icon has been preserved through the ages in occult tradition, in the occult tradition. which has also retained its balance of duality to find the center meaning. Balance of duality to find the center. So let's make it personal now. Let's make it personal. We're going to connect it with what we talked about yesterday. When we see the two spirals here, an upward spiral and a downward spiral, they are both asymmetrical. Now see, both asymmetrical. Just like the snakes. All right? Just
Yeah,
like the
yeah,
serpents. So you are holding two potentials within you. Can't deny it. You are holding the potential to vibrate or express joy, knowledge, empowerment, freedom, love, appreciation, which is at the top of the upward spiral. You also hold the opposite of that: fear, grief, depression, powerlessness, victimization, which is at the bottom of the downward spiral.
yeah.
We're going to talk about inversion. Nasik talked about it. Quoted Abba talking about inverted energy. Inverted energy. All right? So, family, during the fall, our energy, Nasik, had to be diverted.
Had to be. Right.
And we had to enter a downward spiral.
Yeah.
Now, remember, these are two potentials, family. Just as easily, Nasik, as we entered the downward spiral, we can just as easily enter the upward spiral. All we have
Right.
to
Mm-hmm.
do is reverse the action diametrically, reverse the thought
Mm-hmm.
diametrically. We entered in as divinity, more divine than we were human. And in the downward spiral, our thoughts, our conception, all of that fell into a human, exclusively human expression. So we find ourselves, Nasik, when we incarnated, not being taught, not being engineered socially, that we were what? Divinity, but that we were
Right.
human and that we were flawed. And indeed we were. And we had to reach the point that, until we worked out the flaw, till we realized that the end of our humanity, that we had reached the end of our humanity, this cycle, this downward spiral, and it's all mental. You can't expect the world to do it. Now see, you're the center of it. You're not
Yes.
responsible for the world doing it. When you
Mm-hmm.
reach it, God, when you reach God, the end of that human spiral, then it's up to you to decide to reverse it and get into the ascension. Are you all with me?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we came here. Anytime that you conceptualize one thing, you one side of a polarity, you automatically have the potential, you create the potential for the opposite conceptualization. So when you say cold, within the concept of cold, inherent in the concept of cold is hot.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Inherent in the concept of up is down.
Yeah.
These two serpents, two ideas that are mirror reflections, symmetrical mirror reflections of each other. Are you all with me?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, let's move on now. So our ancestors created this God self icon to represent that we must balance duality, that this is the God art, that this is the divine skill, the divine art. All right, we're going to expand on this now. Now, moving back up to where we started yesterday, you all see the same two spirals that are represented here. All right, that represent the two serpents. And you see the figure on each end of the spiral. And that figure is holding two serpents and have them, now see, crossed in an X
Mm-hmm.
over his chest.
Yeah.
In other words, joining them together. Now, they're not, his arms are not what? Outward from his body. It is what? Inward, brought inward, and making
Mm-hmm.
the two things one. Are you all
Mm-hmm.
with
Okay.
Yeah.
me? In ancient Egypt, there was no word for religion. Thank God.
Right.
Because now see that religious mind has, I mean, it has really made things hard
Yes.
for us.
Made it real hard.
Made it real difficult, this religious mind. So in ancient Egypt, there was no word for religion. The closest thing, family, to it was the word Hekha. Now, when you think of Hekha, think of Yochai,
Mm-hmm.
because it's going to be saying the same thing. Hekha meant magical power. I want us to take possession of the word magic, magical powers. We talked
Mm-hmm.
about the joining of the fusing of the two apparent opposites was the divine art, finding the center point of those things. Was the divine art, was the divine skill. So we're going to move into a term that's called magical art. Magical arts, the magical arts. This is the expression of our divinity. I don't want us to think that it is nothing else. It is your ability to do magic that will define you as a guy. I don't care what your mouth says. I don't care how many positive confessions that you do. The end result, the end result is the expression of this hecha, of your kai. Heka literally means the activation of the ka. I see, this is all we've been teaching about, brother.
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
The ka, listen, being the spiritual or energetic double or life force within the human body. Everybody should know what that is. That's melanin.
Yeah.
Melanin.
That's
Yep.
melanin, which
Mm-hmm.
survives it after death. And this, and also the vital force shared by mankind and the gods. Listen, that is melanin carbon in the physical, dark energy, dark matter in the non physical. Are you all with me?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is very simple, family.
Mm-hmm.
It is the universal life energy, the creative power circulating through the spiritual and physical worlds, which makes creation possible. Now, see, it can't be no plainer than that.
I'm telling
No,
you.
that's plain.
So, family, if you've been with these classes, we've already defined these things. Now we're going back to our ancient forefathers, our ancestors, and we're connecting what we've learned with how they expressed it.
Mm-hmm.
Is it matching up?
Absolutely.
All right.
Yes.
Thus, listen now very carefully. Thus, magic preceded even the creation of the gods
Mm-hmm.
and was believed to be even more powerful than them.
Wow.
Woo!
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, see, it's a good thing that we are not simply gods. I'm taking you
Yeah.
to the next. I'm taking you to the next elevation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The Titans created the gods.
Mm-hmm.
We're Titans, but I'm taking y'all on a step-by-step journey.
Come on, shows.
Let's get to gods first, Nasi.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
A lot of us having
Yeah.
a hard time with that.
Get that. Mm-hmm.
Uh,
In the
Hey,
pyramid,
Eitai, somebody made a movie and told us to remember the Titans.
that's correct. That's correct. That's our ancestors telling us to remember that. In the pyramid text, the magician's power is extolled.
hmm.
The sky quivers. The earth quakes before me, for I am a magician. I possess magic. Now, see, during the fall, family, we had to separate ourselves from the divine power. So, with
Yeah.
this understanding, there's no need to ask me why the scriptures talk about magic in a negative way.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
no need to ask me that. We know what the ancestors were doing. We had to now see make it taboo so that we
Yes.
Yeah.
don't pick it up, so that the process of putting ourselves to sleep would be complete.
There you
Yes.
go. There you go.
I'm not hearing anyone, family, with that type of understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Very few people are speaking in these terms and have
No question.
that comprehensive and complete understanding of
Now,
what occurred of what occurred in our dissension. Go ahead.
Eitai, now we can see again how the fifth element plays into the whole element of unifying, but at the same time in the evolution, it was more like it was not an opposite like opposite, but it played the role of putting us to sleep.
That's correct.
Anesthetic put us to sleep,
That's
you
correct.
know.
See, that's correct.
And
But it's the
the evolution,
same element.
yeah.
It's the same element. The element
Yes, same.
that put us to sleep
Right,
is going to
right.
be the element that's going to activate us.
There you go. There you
Mm-hmm.
go. Yeah.
Going back to Abba. Once
Now you see, that makes sense when we talked about being, dying or being put to sleep.
that's
Without that element being known, then it's spooky in terms of how you went to sleep.
that's
You
correct.
follow what
Mm-hmm.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's absolutely correct.
Wow.
So we have this understanding of how we were put to sleep, how we were made unconscious. So Abba says, once you become conscious now, you thus continue to develop your consciousness to the highest level possible. Higher consciousness increases your dynamic energy, your magical power,
Mm-hmm.
and becomes the source of sustained higher development. On this plane, the individual will become consciously aware of the subliminal influences and the forces, both internal and external, which in the past has shaped his life, nature, and has impacted even upon the functioning of the universe. Well, if magic, family, was the creative power that created the universe and all of the physical worlds, then it would have had to be impacted. It would have had to be, that energy would have had to be inverted. Now, see, but it's the same energy, just flipped
Amen.
around.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Just turn
Right.
it around, family.
Yeah.
If the idea of down is in the idea of up. Can't you see that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Those two
Yeah.
possibilities exist simultaneously.
Yes.
But
Yes.
you, God, have to get into the center and take control of these things.
Yes.
Right.
It's not really two serpents, it's just one serpent.
Correct.
And you decide through thought, through perception, whether it's up or whether it's
Well,
down.
yeah.
So
Was it?
if you're going down, you're still the God, but just going in the downward direction.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That breathing is one of the most perfect examples. Inherent in the exhale is the inhale. Inherent in the inhale is the exhale.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
correct. Absolutely correct.
Joe, say that again. Repeat that.
Inherent in exhaling is the inhale. You can't conceive of living and without, if you conceive of an exhale as a living being, you must conceive of an inhale. If you conceive of an inhale, you must conceive of an exhale. The two things, they are entangled.
Correct.
As
Yeah.
we talk about in quantum physics.
Right.
And it's fundamental to life also.
That's
While I'm
correct.
saying something, it hit me a long time ago, Eitai, that you said in the very beginning that we've been trying to go up, but we must first go down
Absolutely.
and meet our ancestors. We must get deeply, and then it came out in a few sessions ago that the whole idea of growing bamboo, it takes 5 years of going down before the bamboo comes up.
That's
So
correct.
that's those entangled,
Okay.
those entangled polarities again.
Correct. And if you want to demonstrate everything that Doe just articulated so well, try exhaling without inhaling, and try inhaling without exhaling.
Well, I mean, this is some high science that we talk about here. This is science now that if we grasp this and begin to apply this, you gotta see that you're not just a human being like that, a physical being.
That's
You
correct.
know? Yeah, this is high science.
Moving on. On this plane, the individual will become consciously aware, and we become consciously aware, family, of the subliminal influences and forces. Nasik dealt with those things. Now, Nasik, I don't know if you were on yesterday, but I replaced the word subconscious with the word subliminal.
Right, I remember we talked about it. I wasn't on, but I remember that.
Because this subliminal, I mean, you framed it in the context of social engineering. of social engineering. So we wanted to take the elements of social engineering and put, eventually Abba is correct that it went to the subconscious, but we just wanted to frame it within the context of what we're focusing on right now. And it's essentially the same thing.
I'm clear.
The subliminal influences in the forces, both internal and external, which in the past has shaped his life, nature,
Right.
and has impacted even upon the functioning of the universe.
Yeah.
This world keeps the human family existing, Nasi, in
Yeah.
opposition.
Yes.
So we got to take those apparent oppositions and that have been constantly, Nasi, moving away in our conceptions, moving away from one another, and what? Possess them and bring them to our chest
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
and unify them. Now, all of this is mental. It kept us existing in opposition to divine law, which is wholeness.
That's divine law of wholeness, right?
And the other part of that is that God is the center of the universe, that you are the center. See,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, y'all have got to understand the inverted nature of trying to achieve this, and God is external to you. It'll never happen.
Right. Never happened, right?
It'll never happen.
Right.
You have to view yourself as a center, as the center, and image yourself in exactly exactly who and what you are, and that is God Almighty. Had us existing in opposition to divine law, which is wholeness, being controlled and manipulated by emotions instead of truth. And we talked about yesterday the power of these emotions. Nasi, as both an indicator of where we stand from a vibrational frequency standpoint at any given time, and also as an energetic source. So let's go over this again. What is an emotion? What is emotion? Emotion is our perception of energy in motion, which we recognize as a feeling. So let's look at this, family. The upward spiral, energy in motion, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And the corresponding feelings at each vibratory frequency. Contentment, that's what we feel. Hopefulness, that's what we feel. Optimism, positive expectation, belief, enthusiasm, passion. So, with those feelings, which are an indicator of the vibrational frequency that you're what? Moving at, in motion towards, it gives you a gauge as to where you are. But the downward spiral does the same thing. Is it energy in motion? Yes.
Yes, it is.
Just in slower motion.
Slow motion.
All right? So when you recognize that your energy has slowed down, the only way you can do that is to constantly monitor your emotions, your feelings. See, the world does not see when we start talking about feelings, they say, oh, them soft brothers talking about feelings. But remember that type of conception has kept us, that type of world view has kept us what? In opposition
Mm-hmm.
to the divine law of wholeness. What we're trying to do is to reach wholeness, family, which is energy that has ceased to move.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
But we achieve that through increasing our vibrational frequency to the point that it moves outside of motion, Nasi, and that is what we call beyond the speed of light.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the physical becomes non-physical.
Yeah.
That is our starting point. That's where motion ceases, family. Am I making sense?
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, motion ceases as well as you decrease.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then they say, rest in peace.
Mm-hmm.
They'll be posting, they'll be posting your picture on Facebook with the
Right.
Yeah.
letters RIP on.
Can't show.
It's rest
Mm-hmm.
either way. It's rest either way.
Yes.
But we don't want
Mm-hmm.
to go out resting like that.
Let's go
Exactly.
back door, Joe said.
Right. We don't want to go out through the back door.
No.
Allow me to mention an experience. I was contemplating entering the ministry. The pastor said you have to hear from God. I didn't know what it meant. I went to a friend's house, sat in front of the fireplace for a long time, and I was just trying to slow myself down, trying to just come to some kind of a point where I could hear. And the sister who owned the house came by and saw me and said, that brother is at rest.
Right.
Now that's what kind of like what we're talking about.
Correct.
Getting to the point where we are in the Shabbat rest, where
Right.
I was telling Nasik, stay connected with the source and continue to emanate. When we get to the point where we know we're connected to the source and we're not doing anything but emanating, we've reached this point where everything is just flowing. We're in the God flow. So we reach the point where we have totally connected with the black core, the melanin core, and we understand that we're continuing to emanate. But we're emanating, we've reached the bottom, we're emanating now upward into this new age.
That's correct.
But the sister said, I was at rest. That's what she saw.
Right.
And that's when we reach that point, it will be evident to the people who we come in contact with, to the world that we come in contact with, that we're at rest.
That's absolutely correct.
Yeah.
So emotion, family, is our perception of energy in motion, which we recognize as a feeling. Different emotions have different frequencies. Scientists call electromagnetic energy spectrum the scale of energy frequencies. So we looked at that yesterday. And we made this statement: you must be vigilant in monitoring your emotions moment to moment, family. Converting lower frequency emotions into higher frequency emotions. Well, how do we do that? By aligning all things. All of this is mental. By aligning all things in accordance with your divine intent and will, not no one else's, yours. You are the center, family. You are the center. Can't nobody tell you what your divine intent and will is. You determine that.
Yes.
You command that. Write the word command down if you're taking notes. Command and commandment. Command and commandment. We're gonna decode all of this, demystify all of this. It's very simple. Once you do it, and I see from the standpoint of divinity, you must be vigilant in monitoring your emotions moment to moment, converting lower frequency emotions into higher frequency emotions. How do we do that? By aligning all things in accordance with your divine intent or will. Whatever occurs, you must always, whatever occurs, family, are y'all hearing me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Whatever occurs,
Mm-hmm.
this is strength of mentality, strength of attention, strength of focus, divine discipline. Whatever occurs, you must always perceive everything as occurring within the framework of, in accordance with, and as a direct result of your divine intent, will. It might not look like it is,
Right.
but trust me, it is. And once you do that, why am I saying? Because I have the experience of this. It didn't look like it, Nasi. But as
Right.
I did this, as I converted it and aligned it to within the framework of my divine intent and will, once I got to the other side of it, I see exactly what that was. Didn't see it on
Mm-hmm.
this side, but when I converted that energy, guess what? Magic. It
Yes.
magically converted. Knowing and realizing that all things work together for good to them that love God, that is their divine being, to them who are called according to his purpose, that is intent or intention. That is literally what the Greek word for purpose, prothesis, means, intention. What you
Wow.
intend, your will be done. Where? On earth,
As it is in heaven.
heaven. That's magic.
Mm-hmm.
Now we never ever considered that word purpose having anything to do with intention, but it just makes sense when you think about it now.
That's right.
If it's a purpose,
Mm-hmm.
whose purpose is it?
That's
Right.
Whose
right.
intent is it?
Right. Mm-hmm.
See, we always thought duality, but by and large, Nasik, we knew that because of our human nature, that our purpose and will was the direct opposite of that which God will want for us. Isn't that true?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hmm.
Ecclesiastes 8, 5, and 6. Abba gave this to us, Nasik, long ago. Um, I remember, and when I saw this, I said, this is a formula.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's an imitation of life.
That's correct.
Yeah. Wow.
And this really inspired me to, this was the inception, Nasi, of where I am today.
Mm-hmm.
The understanding and conceptualizing of this particular scripture verse. Whoso keepeth the commandment of intent, the commandment of intent that you declared was your
Mm-hmm.
intent, that
Mm-hmm.
you declared was your will, shall feel no evil thing.
Wow.
And a wise man's heart discerneth both time and judgment. Now, I
Yeah.
really broke this thing down.
Yeah.
Now, see, and I remember expounding upon this. We'll do this later because I developed early on uh, this this concept of conscious deliberate creation, conscious deliberate creation, off this one verse and off this one teaching that Abba gave. And that was the early version of what it is that we're talking about today. All right. I'll go back and share that with you because there are some insights and revelations in that that are very profound. So it says, whoso keepeth the commandment of intent and will, of divine intent and will, shall feel no evil thing. And a wise man's heart discerneth both time and judgment. So, like I said, in the case that I gave you, there were times I didn't see that the thing was what occurred was within the framework of my intent and will, but I converted it anyway. And then
Right.
I reached a point in time, in linear time, where I could look back and say it exactly because I did it. I converted it. That's my
Yeah.
divine power. Had I not done it, it would not have occurred that way when I look back. It would have sent me in what? The other direction, in a downward spiral. Are you all with me? I'd have got bummed out about it, and all my
Mm-hmm.
work is
Mm-hmm.
for naught.
Right.
I'm in that
Right.
downward spiral. Did I
Mm-hmm.
create that? Absolutely. The
Mm-hmm.
same
Yes.
way that I created it and put it what? Within the framework of my divine intent and will. So I'm always at the center, whether I know it or not.
But first of all, I said imitation of life, but it's not imitation of life. It's resurrecting from judgment to post judgment on it's in the alphabetical portion of the introduction L. It's on the L.
Uh-huh.
After introduction L.
Right. That's the
Mm-hmm.
portion I see. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a wise man's heart discerneth both time and judgment. The judgment is the verdict, it's the outcome.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It is the manifestation of thy will in heaven coming to manifestation in the earth.
Now, Eitai,
Yes,
it
sir.
makes sense now what he meant when he said the judgments are in the earth.
That's correct.
That's why it makes sense now. But he said that, but it was just a concept that he had framed, but without any understanding, because it really never was explained to us what it really meant.
Correct.
So now it makes all the sense in the world now.
Now, see, I dealt
As
with
above, so beneath. Yeah.
right. That's correct. They're already, if it's above, it's below already. See,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
time,
Mm-hmm.
linear time, family, fools us. Linear
Yeah.
time fools us.
Yes, it
Yes.
does.
Yes.
Because for every purpose, there is a time and a judgment. Three elements working as one. And trust me, we're going to go back and go into this particular verse because scripture passage, Ecclesiastes 8, 5, and 6. Now, see, there's a lot there.
There's
There's
a lot there.
there. And it has to do with our magic. It has to do
Yeah.
with the demonstration of this divine power. So you're going to see that Kefets, when I did this conscious deliberate creation, Kefets was an element in the 7 element, actually 8, 7 element steps of manifestation according to your divine will. Kefets, it was one of the 7 elements, actually 8, because the judgment is 8. It's 2-part. It goes to the Shabbat rest. You know, you go through these 7 steps now, see, then you rest once you get the
Yeah.
outcome.
Yeah.
So we'll go back over this in detail a little bit later. Delight thyself also in the Lord, and he shall give thee the desires of thine heart. The desires of thine heart is your intent. It is the
Yeah.
commandment. The commandment is you commanding your intent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Scripture says
Mm-hmm.
that once you keep that, once you keep it, keeping it is what? Converting lower frequency emotions into higher frequency. Uh, and whatever occurs, you keeping the commandment is always perceiving everything as occurring within the framework of, in accordance with, and as a direct result of your commanding your divine intent or will. Makes sense, family?
Makes
Yes,
sense. Makes
absolutely.
makes sense. Well, boy, when when they created that concept of God outside of you,
And
man, we had no idea
right.
what happened. Good gracious, man.
It's up to me to give me the desires of my own heart. It's up to me.
Right.
No
Mm-hmm.
one else.
Mm-hmm.
It's up to you and I.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we talked
Wow.
about, we gave you all a list of the different chakras, and the emotions that they govern, that are connected to it, both positive and negative, so that we
Mm-hmm.
can that we can do this work, family. We can
Yes.
do this work. So let's talk about setting our intention. Fear is low frequency, long, slow wavelength, activates very few DNA antennas, which
Yeah.
connect us to the cosmos. The cosmos is the area, Nasi, that our ancestors reside in,
Mm-hmm.
where they are resting, where they are
Right.
resting. All right. So,
Divine energy exists. Right.
so
Yeah.
love is high frequency, short, fast wavelength, activates more DNA antennas, which connect us to all that is. Connect
Mm-hmm.
us to all that is. So, an intention, listen, or intent or purpose is the form and structure of something that you strongly, intensely wish to have. Your thoughts originated, very important. Everything is mental. Your emotions amplify it, and your actions increase its motion. There's a trinity, another trinity there. family. Thoughts, emotions, and actions. Thoughts, emotions, and behavior. These are the three fundamental elements to begin your creation process and to sustain it. Your thoughts originate it, your emotions amplify it, and your actions increase its momentum. Let's take a look at how that works, all right? And we're going to use the upward spiral as our example. So let's begin at the bottom. And we see, well, actually, I want to begin at 5. No, I'm going to begin at 7. Contentment, hopefulness, optimism, positive expectation, belief, enthusiasm. All right? And I'm going to give you an aspect of creation. At 7, contentment, you begin with thinking that all things are possible, Nasi. And family, most of us are content with saying that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I say, hey, I'm going to be a multimillionaire. Most people say, if they're being positive, they'll say, hey, man, all things are possible. Anything's possible, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the starting point. So what we want to do, now write these elements down. Possibility, probability,
Hold on. Possibility and what else?
possibility, that's the starting point. Probability is the next step. Likelihood is the next step. Certainty is the next step. And then manifestation or possession is the next step. All right? I'm going to show you how this works on this scale. And what we're doing,
Manifestation is what?
I'm going to show you how it works on this scale of the upward spiral.
Yeah, I was asking you what after manifestation, possession.
Those are the same thing, manifestation and possession. All right?
Oh, okay, I get it.
Manifestation and possession. So let's say I want to be a multimillionaire. All right? So I start at the standpoint that all things are possible. And that's really the neutral position. That's just the starting point. The basic starting point is, yeah, that's a possibility. Are you all with me? But what I want to do is raise the vibrational level of possibility, which in this case is contentment. I want to raise it to the next level. So I no longer want to continue to be content. I want to raise my level to hopefulness, which is probability. It'll probably happen. It's just not possible. It'll probably happen. I'm showing you how to use your emotions to create. So I want to focus on being hopeful instead of just content, Nasi. So I raise my vibrational level from contentment, well, all things are possible, to hopefulness. Well, this is going. I'm gonna probably be a millionaire. Then I want to change that vibrational level to bring it a notch up, to be optimistic. It looks like I'm gonna be, so my actions, my thoughts, my perception go up as well. Now I'm optimistic. I talk about it in a different manner from just hey, anything is possible.
Right.
I'm talking about like now, hey, I can see myself
Mm-hmm.
as being a multimillionaire. And so I start acting, I start going and doing what multimillionaires do. I might not have the money now, but I'm no longer looking at Chevys and Fords.
Right. Right. Come on, shows.
You understand? I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking at what multimillionaire, I'm optimistic.
Yes.
Then the next step is positive expectation or belief. That I'm no longer just optimistic. Now, see, I have a strong feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I expect to do it. So, what do? I start going to the Mercedes Benz dealership
Mm-hmm.
and looking at, I'm
Mm-hmm.
just giving you all an example.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at $100,000 cars. I'm actually making an
Mm-hmm.
appointment to test drive.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because I have a positive expectation and belief that I'm going to be a multimillionaire.
Right.
Then enthusiasm.
Yes.
That is when what? Things start to be, I start to possess the type of money that multimillionaires have.
Mm-hmm.
Are you all with me? So I become enthusiastic
Yes.
and I start putting money away
Mm-hmm.
to buy that Mercedes Benz. Are you all with me?
Mm-hmm.
And then that enthusiasm becomes my passion. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm passionate about where I am now until I reach family joy,
Yes.
knowledge of my empowerment, of my freedom, my financial freedom, my love and
Mm-hmm.
appreciation for the fact that I did what? Converted contentment into joy. And then I can rest, family, and start to create something new where I start at the bottom level and move it up. You do that, family, by raising your emotional level. You can manipulate it. Emotions have manipulated us. But the inversion of that is for me to manipulate my emotions and control them.
Mm-hmm.
Not
Yeah.
simply, family, by suppressing negative emotions, but by turning negative emotions into positive emotions, raising them up,
Yes. Yes.
raising them
Yes.
up. How? By my thoughts. No
Eitai.
longer not seek focusing on thoughts that take me into a downward spiral that are
Yeah.
low frequency,
Right. Right.
but amplifying my emotions. So it amplifies what? My rise from
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
possibilities to probabilities to likelihoods to certainties to what? Possessions. It works just that easy.
Eitai.
Yeah.
Go right ahead.
And see, and and the joy that you get is not the Mercedes Benz, but the journey itself.
That I can
Understanding the
create,
journey.
hey,
That's
that
the
I can create
that's
what
the
I want. Absolutely,
yes.
that I can create what I
Yes.
want anytime that I
Mm-hmm.
want, family.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it has to be something that I want.
Yes. Yes.
That
I'm
Yeah.
clear.
so that raises my emotions. I can't tell you what it is, Nasi. What raises your emotions and excites
Mm-hmm.
your emotions is different from what excites mine. But I can't call yours
Mm-hmm.
wrong and mine's right. It's just right
Right.
for me. Why? Because I'm at the center of my world,
Mm-hmm.
not you, not
Mm-hmm.
Right.
nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
What the preacher does is to get you to buy in to the fact that God is the center and
Yeah.
Right.
that he is in the center with God
Mm-hmm.
and that his will and God's will
Mm-hmm.
are the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you
Wow.
end up participating,
Yes.
buying into that and participating in getting him what? A Rolls Royce,
It's ruined.
a
Yep.
Absolutely.
helicopter. I'm just telling y'all, it works as simple as that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Come on, show.
Yeah. That's exactly how it happened.
Whoever is at the center of your life, that's who controls you.
Yeah.
And it controls your power, your creative power, or destructive power. Are you all with
Yeah.
me?
Gang.
This is how armies work. This is how governments work. This is how all so-called organizations work.
That's how
They
they
get,
work.
Mm-hmm.
they get you to focus on something that is central and to buy into that, and that is how
Yes.
these things work. We need to align our thoughts and actions with positive, high frequency feelings and emotions.
Mm-hmm.
This progression is called vibrational alignment. Now, y'all know what alignment is. It ain't
Mm-hmm.
aligning yourself with some kind of God outside of yourself and his will. Is taking the throne as God and understanding, determining what your will is. This progression is called vibrational alignment and can have a dramatic effect on the outcome of our intentions. What is the outcome of our intention? Judgment.
Mm-hmm.
When the judgment is rendered, when the verdict is rendered, purpose, time, and judgment. Judgment is the outcome of our intent of our intentions. Is it simple, family?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
In metaphysical terms, here we go. Programming a crystal is storing an intention or energy into it. I'm not suggesting that we all do this. Some people should do it. All right? Because some people are going to have a talent in doing this, but this is not for everyone. It is just using an example that people might be familiar with. That when you charge or program a crystal, you are putting an intention or energy pattern into it. Does it make sense?
Mm-hmm.
The energy pattern program. Now, are you a crystal? Bodily. See, y'all see, we're a semiconductor.
Right. Right.
And just like
Mm-hmm.
intent, now see, was programmed into us,
Yeah.
Yes.
we can program intent into a crystal object that holds energy like we hold energy. The energy pattern programmed into the object, such as a crystal, can be any intention from thought, color, emotion, sound, use, or any other vibration. These vibrations can be accessed through our auras and chakra systems to bring those energies into use. This is exactly what we're teaching. This is exactly what we're learning now. Love is the highest of all vibrations. In order to
Yep.
manifest what is in your heart, you must first give yourself permission to feel and experience love. Very important. The vibration of love will see the only way you can get messed up in that is to try to love your human self.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. Come on, shows. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, see, I do not love anything about my humanity. Nothing.
Right, the
Yes.
human stuff, the only thing can mess you up. Yeah.
Man, I'm losing my hair and I don't know. I don't know why. I hate that.
Yeah, yeah, buddy.
I'm focused on my divinity, fam. That's what I love about myself. The only thing
Yes.
worth
Mm-hmm.
loving. So we experience this difficulty of permitting ourselves to feel or experience love because we trying to love something that is flawed, that is destined, that came here to be flawed.
Mm-hmm.
Love you, and not love who you are.
Man, I'm trying to see the divinity in everyone, starting with
Yes.
myself first.
Yes. Yes.
The
And you,
vibration of love will allow you to manifest what you desire. I'm going to highlight that. The vibration of love will allow you to manifest what you desire. So it is incumbent upon us, family, as we look at this vortex, it's incumbent upon us to focus clearly on level 250 because that is neutrality. Well, I'll say between levels 250 and 350. We already said that we're here. That this is
Mm-hmm.
just the starting point because that is the area of contentment, family. If you see it on this scale,
Mm-hmm.
you'll see it's beginning in that green area that is transitioning to blue, just like it is on this chart. That we have to at least maintain our vibrational stability between level 250 and level 350. We got to focus on that.
yeah,
And then with the techniques and the knowledge that we're giving you, cause us to rise up into these higher echelons in terms of love, all right? Joy,
Mm-hmm.
enlightenment, that sort of thing. It's possible. And then once we start manifesting,
Mm-hmm.
family, from the aspect of love, level 500, and we might not get there, Nasi, consistently.
right,
We got to we got to strengthen these spiritual muscles.
right.
Yes. Yes.
We got to strengthen but we can do that.
Mm-hmm.
But we can't fluctuate, family, below that level. We can't continue to dance between two opinions. I'm human
No,
today, I'm divine tomorrow. I'm divine when I'm on the call, but when something happens, I'm back to being human. I'm
Mm-hmm.
back into my human emotions.
Mm-hmm.
We got to learn to convert whatever happens, whatever occurs, to do what? Convert it, that lower frequency energy into higher frequency energy. We'll repeat it again because this is practical. I know what happens now, see, after we have a high phone call like this and a high experience, automatically we're going to get a test.
yeah,
Yes. Yep.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
understand that is our ancestors. That is our ancestors. Look, telling you to put this into practice. Don't ignore it. I'll read it again. You must be vigilant in monitoring your emotions moment by moment, converting lower frequency emotions into higher frequency emotions by aligning all things in accordance with your divine intent and will. Again, I don't care what happens. You speak to that situation. I don't care what it is.
Right.
It was in accordance to my divine intent and will that I set. I don't care what it is. Now,
You go back to Ecclesiastes 8, 5 through 6.
right.
Right there.
Whatever occurs, you must always perceive everything as occurring within the framework of, in accordance with, and as a direct result of your divine intent and will.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you might not see it right away, but
Mm-hmm.
a wise man considers what? Time and judgment. The
Time and
time
judgment.
period
Mm-hmm.
it takes to manifest according to
Mm-hmm.
your divine will
Yeah.
that you have commanded.
Yeah.
Moving forward, when your emotional energy and attention, listen, when your emotional energy and attention is aligned with and focused on your intention, there is absolutely no doubt that you will indeed create and manifest the desires of your heart. When your emotional energy and attention is aligned with and focused on your intention, there is absolutely no doubt that you will indeed create and manifest the desires of your heart.
Magic.
Let's look at the divine body. Yeah, we're gonna really get into this magic thing now. You all notice that the two figures to the left have that light around their heads, right? This is
Mm-hmm.
how divine figures are manifested. And then you see the Andy Cap character, Joe Batifsplick, with the dark cloud over his head, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at the emotional body real quick. Emotions are energy in motion and look like clouds hovering above and around your physical body. High frequency emotions such as love and joy look bright, while lower frequency emotions look dimmer and dark. Negative or lower frequency emotions can have a detrimental effect on our physical body over time. These emotions eventually can become toxins at the cellular level and can damage body tissues and even become serious diseases. That is that is energy out of balance. It's an erratic or radical wave, Nasi. Emotions store in the body in layers on top of layers, and these can affect our mood, attitude, and personality in their degree of concentration. Some people, for example, are always very angry, and others hardly at all. When we allow our emotions to flow freely, we can also repress them. In order for us to be clear of lower frequency emotions from the emotional body, we need to release them. However, we can't release them by just saying, okay, I release all my sadness right now. Thoughts we think and emotions we feel. Emotions can be released in their emotional energetic form. We can only be willing to let go and release them so they can be transmuted by higher frequency energy. And we talked about doing that. See, most of the negative emotions now, see, if we think about it, we are carrying like this. are about some things that occurred in the past. Is that safe to say?
Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So what we have to do now is take our exercise with us to go back to those past events and convince ourselves that all things work together for our good. And to convert those emotions, those negative events, and align them with our divine will and intent. Does it make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Very simple. So let's move on. This is the other quote from Ben Ami that Nasi introduced when he laid the groundwork on of this particular uh, journey we're on a couple of days ago, in a formula to weaken and at the same time energize. The adversary, by the application of scientific social perception engineering, creates inverted energy. This is energy power turned to a contrary direction. Instead of going upward in the spiral, we go downward. Change from what was the normal order. Now we return to the two forces, which have two different perceptions of this expending of evident energy power. One perception is that the person is highly motivated and energetic. The other, in contradiction to this, is that this person is inert. That this person is inert. Very important uh, word that and concept that Ben Ami introduced here. Keeping in mind that words, listen, education can completely transform the chemical makeup of a soul, making it a complete opposite in nature and effect. We're going to look at this. The word invert, we're going to look at first because he talked about inverted energy.
Right.
So we're going to look at the word invert first. It means to turn in an opposite direction,
Right.
reverse the position, order, or sequence. So we just, looked at this, family. Upward
Mm-hmm.
motion of the vortex, downward motion of the vortex, centripetal and centrifugal, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to look at the word innervate, to deprive of force or strength. That is weakening, right?
Right.
That is weakening, but we want to talk about strengthening, all right? And that's all we've been talking about is how to strengthen ourselves. Inert, here we go, without inherent force. Without inherent force, having no power to act or respond. Family, this is why I'm going to show you again what inert energy is in action. And see, in the past, we've thought that this was taking action.
Mm.
And a dog there. You have to justify police.
Law officers are required to react quickly, intense, uncertain, and don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. We hold our own press conferences. Don't nobody want to stay here and talk to us. We came here today for justice. We didn't come to hear that every day, every year. We're only people here looking for justice is just us. Yes, black people. Every year we're here.
And again, I have compassion for their cause and what they're
Right.
saying, But this is a demonstration of individuals that have no power.
No power.
Yeah.
They asking for to be empowered. They're asking for who you trying to talk to. The reason that they're doing these things is evidence that you have no power. They're doing it every year. You talking about every year. They doing it. They killing unarmed black people since 2015 at a rate of 2 per week.
They
Those
keep doing it.
huh?
I said they keep doing it so they can gauge where you are
You don't have
by
no
your
power.
response.
Right. You don't have no power. They know
Yeah.
you've been innervated. They're gauging you to see if you're still weakened.
Yeah.
And the program the program response is to seek political remedy,
Yes. Right.
to seek social change,
Right.
to begin to talk about culture.
If you go in that direction, they already know.
They already know you weak.
Yeah.
When we talk in terms of an emotional feeling, the word inert corresponds, to the word apathy, which is very low energy, very low frequency, very low wavelength. And if you look at the scale, it is at the lower end of the scale on the other side of grief and fear. And we know that these people are frightened because they have no energy.
Right.
They have no knowledge of the energy that is inherent within them, and they have no. They feel powerless. They feel like victims. They're acting like victims, and they have been victimized. We see these things at the lower end of any scale that we look at. So the emotion, let's move to emotions, is apathy, to be apathetic. Freedom, it originally meant, Nasi, freedom from suffering.
Right.
It means passionless. And you remember, passion was high on the scale.
Yes.
Passion was high on the vibratory frequency scale that we looked at. Look, where was it? It was here. That's high up on the scale. Passion right there.
Yeah.
So apathy is right at the opposite end. And this is the problem that we have in our one of 3 problems that we have in remaining in humanity. It meant freedom from suffering, passionlessness, and existence, a passionless existence. That means you ain't creating nothing.
Right.
And now see, the inversion took place. It says without feeling, for want of sensation, without emotion. But we don't want to be without emotion.
Oh no.
We want to use these emotions to fuel our creative process and our ascension into divinity.
Absolutely.
But it originally meant a positive quality. Apathy was originally a positive quality in the sense of indolence of mind, indifference to what should excite.
Yeah.
Different to what should excite. So what they're talking about is neutrality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it originally meant neutrality. contentment, the starting point.
Yeah.
But inverting these definitions. Let's continue on, family, as we begin to close. We talked about this heka, all right, at the beginning, as
Yeah.
being, as defined, listen, as magical power. Heka literally means the activating of ka, or your inherent magical power, divine power. Are you all with me?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The ka being the spiritual double or life force within the body. Is your divinity that is within you, melanin, which survives after death and is also the vital force shared by both mankind and gods. We call it melanin, carbon in the physical, dark energy, dark matter, akasha in the non-physical. It is the universal life energy, the creative power circulating through both the spiritual and physical worlds, which makes creation possible. Thus, magic preceded the creation of the gods and was believed to be even more powerful. So, magic, let's define it. The art, listen, of influencing events and producing marvels using hidden natural forces. That sounds real evil, doesn't
Mm-hmm.
it?
Mm-hmm.
The art of influencing events and producing marvels or miracles using hidden natural forces. Well, what are these hidden forces? That's your divinity that was hidden from you. Now, see,
Yeah.
you
Yes.
forgot,
Concealed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and they called it sorcery or magic or witchcraft. But
Or voodoo.
it just means to be able or to have power,
Right.
to be able
Right.
Mm-hmm.
to keep your kids safe, so police ain't shooting
Yes.
you down in the street.
Yes.
The ability to keep yourself from getting brutalized by police.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have a very simple way of keeping police off me, and I know it's worked because unbeknownst to me, and just as I was leasing a car, and I hadn't changed my sticker. Now, see, this was maybe about a year or two ago that this occurred. Maybe about 2 years ago that this occurred.
Uh-huh.
Driving home from work, and the police stopped me on Rockside Road.
Right.
My tag had been expired, I believe, for about 8 months.
8 months.
Now, you should have saw how they approached me, and I know why. They were very courteous, Mr. Golston. They asked me at first to see my insurance card, but I couldn't get it out my wallet fast. I couldn't find it in my wallet. And the guy said, "That's all right." The police officer, "That's all right, Mr. Golston. We checked you out. Normally, we would tow your car and impound it, but I'm going to give you this notice where you can go. You won't be fined as long as you go tomorrow and get your sticker taken care of." Now, when do they do that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait
Mm-hmm.
a minute. Hold on for a minute. Because y'all got one too. I got pulled over by the police. Police comes, gets my license, go back to his car, comes back up, and he says, Mr. Wilkins, I got good news and I got bad news. First off, the bad news. Your driver's license is suspended. The good news, I'm not going to tow your vehicle, and I'm not going to lock you up. In fact, I'm going to let you call somebody to come up here and pick up your vehicle, and, you know, you just make sure you take care of this. I say, what is my license suspended for? He say, for payment of child support. And I'm like, wow, you know, I pay child support through my job every paycheck.
Right.
But I leave it alone. Now he says, now I'm gonna get ready to leave. Don't go and drive off, you know, while I'm gone. I say, wow, you know. Now I've been locked up in the past several times for driving on a suspended license.
New energy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, see, I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna give y'all a simple thing to do. And see, we were told that this is, you know, in the past that this is evil work. And look, it is creating a golem. All right, I told you all this yesterday. GOLEM, and I'll give you the definition of it. This never fails. I'll give you the definition of it. The ancestors gave this to me the other day, but I've been practicing this for at least for three or 4 years now. A golem in this sense. Now it has several meanings. Now, in this sense, is a clay figure brought to life by magic. I'm going to explain what that means. Also, the definition is an artificial, human being in Hebrew folklore endowed with life. Now I'm going to demystify that.
Mm-hmm.
What I did prior to that night, that I got a little figure, just a little, dollar figure of a Captain America. Captain America doll, about 3 inches, 4 inches high. And I spoke life into it. Just spoke to it.
Mm-hmm.
You represent law enforcement. You represent the police. You represent all authority that protects the status quo. And I talk to it like it's human. That is endowing life within it.
Mm-hmm.
Are you all hearing me?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I took a black magic marker and I blacked out its eyes so it wouldn't see me as a human, but see me as a divinity. And I blacked out his mouth. I blacked out his mouth so it wouldn't talk to me as it wouldn't talk to me as a human, but talk to me and address me as a divinity. And I blacked out its ears so it wouldn't hear words coming out my mouth as if it were words coming out the mouth of a human, but words coming out the mouth of a divinity. And I put rubber bands and bound the legs and the arms so it could not act against me. And it is in the glove compartment of my vehicle. So I don't worry about no police. I use a device given to me by my ancient ancestors. Did you see?
Right,
It was Hebrew folklore. Did you?
right.
Right. Right. Yes.
They
Wow.
didn't have plastic. They didn't have plastic. They used clay,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
and they endowed it with life by speaking life and form into it, just like you speak it into a crystal. I put my intent into it. I know my magical power. I know my science, family. I'm not
Yeah.
afraid to use it and utilize it.
And Eitai,
Yes, sir.
and and just you sharing that, they call that voodoo, because those brothers and sisters who practice their science use little dolls to
That's
talk to,
correct.
and stick pins in it, and you know
Black
they
magic.
do all that. But exactly.
Black
Yes.
magic.
Black magic. Yes.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
it's the same. It's the same thing as endowing your intent into a crystal. It don't
Mm-hmm.
matter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they got us, boy. They got us out
Come on
there.
now. Definition of magic as we close, family. Definition of magic: the use of means such as charms or spells. Spells are just words, family. They are
Yes.
just commanding your intent as a divine being. Did I charm that police officer? Absolutely. I'm going to continue to charm him.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't have anything to do with me using nice words. It had me using
Mm-hmm.
divine commands of my intent and getting a representative object. Are you all with me?
Yeah.
Damn.
The use means such as charms or spells, believed to have supernatural power over natural forces, magic rites or incantations, an extraordinary power or influence seemingly from a supernatural force. It wasn't seemingly to me. It was absolutely from a supernatural force. Guess what?
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
Guess who that supernatural force is? Me.
Yes. Yes.
I'm not calling on no. If I'm calling on dark power, I know I am that dark power.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I see. I ain't calling on nothing outside of myself. That's religion. We started out by saying that the Egyptians had no word for religion, but they had a
Yeah.
word for their divine power.
Eitai.
Yes.
Now we see back in the creation of Dom, when the breath of life was breathed into him,
We all
or
consider,
into it.
we all possess that, family. We all possess that.
Yes.
Continuing
Mm-hmm.
on. Heka or Yahai was personified as a god of magic associated with the power, listen, of the written and spoken word. Did I demonstrate that
Yeah.
in that
Absolutely.
situation? I spoke life into that particular object and I defined what it
Mm-hmm.
meant.
Mm-hmm.
That's just one example when that of when that worked. It also worked, and Zimra on the line. It also worked miraculously when they were trying to hold up my probation.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't fight them. I just had confidence in my divine powers, and it all worked out perfectly. On my mother's when was that, Zimra? It was when they were giving my mother they were honoring her, the Garfield Heights Police Department and the city and stuff like that, and everything worked out on exactly on that day. I include my mother in my everyday moving. She just in the other room now, see,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and I realize that she's at rest on the other side of that energy.
Yeah.
The divine power of the written and spoken word, as well as medicine and healing. He accompanied the sun god Ra on his bark during his daily journey through the heavens. Take your magic with you. Listen, and we're going to end on this. Along with the gods Sia, divine perception. What have we been talking to y'all about?
Mm-hmm.
And who? Divine speech. That's why you are a human. That's why you have you melanin.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Divine perception, divine speech and thought. You gotta carry that with these ain't no disembodied gods like that. This is talking about the mentality that you must possess on a daily basis. Now see, as
Mm-hmm.
you accompany the sun god Ra from sunup to sunset. They ain't talking about no
Mm-hmm.
gods like that. You the God. These are different elements to manifesting your divinity. And just like we say, you got to have Sia with you, divine perception, not human, and Hu, divine speech, divine thought. He is depicted as a man holding two serpents across his chest. Heka's female equivalent was the goddess Weret Hekau, Weret Hekau, and they use this word where to define the female, and I'm going to show you it in the definition. Bear with me, family. You all ever heard of werewolf?
Yes.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that is a man what? Becoming a wolf.
Yeah.
All right? I'm not talking about, see, this is where inverted energy comes in. And it
Mm.
says from the PIE root, where to turn or to bend. See, you got to turn. You were turned or bent into humanity. That is your inverted energy. Now you have to wear, turn, or bend that energy, family, convert it back to the other way, and become that. We're not talking about nothing outside of yourself.
Yes.
Sisters, you have to become the goddess Weret Hakau. You have to embody that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Brothers, you have to embody Heka
Mm-hmm.
relative to your divine magic. And they call the goddess Weret Hakau great of magic or great enchantress. That feminine energy, we're going to get into that too when we talk about combining the masculine and feminine energy. But I can't be, Nasik, I can't create with a human.
Right.
I don't care if it's my wife or not. I got to get her to be divine like me, the same
Yeah.
type of energy.
Right.
Yeah.
Who was depicted in the form of a cobra, as were several other Egyptian goddesses. Egyptian magicians in their ceremonies carry cobra shaped staffs. Let's go back now to Exodus. What's that in your hand? Moses, it's my staff. Cast it down on the ground.
Right.
And Moses ran from it, ran from his own divine power. Not confident, Nasi.
Right. Right, Eitai.
The Egyptians could do the same thing. But it said that Moses' staff did what? Ate their staff up. Talking
Right.
about that this thing was going to be what? Hidden and concealed. So we're back where we began, family. First, I'm sorry, 2 Corinthians. Thanks, Amaria. Thank you. 2 Corinthians 10:3 through 5. For though we walk in the flesh, we're found in human physical form. We do not war after the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God, to the pulling down of strongholds, casting down the imagination that we are anything but the center of the universe, the divinity of the universe, and every high thing that exalted itself against the knowledge that we are God, family, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of our divinity. Everything. You are God with amnesia. You can most certainly enjoy the dream game of being human, but do not lose yourself in that limited role. Consciousness is, listen, I heard this today and I had to share it with you. Consciousness is the realization, remembrance, recollection of your divinity, of your birthright, of the true reality of what you are. And that's a quote from Brother Panic in a latest video, and I thought that that was tremendously insightful and right in alignment with what we've been saying. So with that, we're going to end here, family. Ask if there are any questions or comments.